Friends, family, fans, welcome back to episode 87. Episode 80. Pay Dirt. Brought to you by rotoballer.com. Use code Maniac for 10% off. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Back 9 Bets, episode 80. This is what you get when you sit at home all day on your own and you do a podcast. And the first thing you get to say out loud, for the most part, is the first thing you say on the podcast, and you just totally don't get your stuff together. So thank you. I'm in my little hermit hole. I'm trying a different lighting. It is the RSM Classic Championship, whatever you want to call it, over in Sea Island, Georgia. We got the Sea Island Mafia out in full force this week. It's the final PGA Tour event of the year. That's got a decent-sized field. That's not called the Hero. Until next year. So let's enjoy it. Let's take a moment to appreciate that this is, although it's the RSM, it's not going to be the best tournament in the world, but it is the last. And that is what makes it important this week. We got a few guys hunting down top 125 classification. We got a few guys trying to chase down top 60. We got guys that are trying to just win this goddamn tournament. It's going to be fun. It's the RSM Classic. And we're just going to do a quick little recap of last week. Didn't win outright, but we did win money, which is always good. We cashed in, if you take your $100 that we bet in our Breaking 100 article, we didn't even bet the all 100. I think we bet only 90 of it because we had like $8 left to bet on outrights live, and we're just not very good at that. And we probably would have bet on Adam Scott, and he didn't win anyway. So that was good. We didn't feel like we had anything going on. Didn't win the outright section there, but we turned our $92 into $31 worth of profit. So that was delightful. We had top 20s cashing. We had plus money top 20s cashing like crazy. We had some very nice bets come in there. We had top 40s cashing. We had matchups cashing. We had the whole shebang doing its beautiful and wonderful work for us. So, in fact, I'm actually going to put it up real quick and just run over who we cashed last week. And go from there. So we had Adam Scott cash for a top 20 at plus 100. Justin Lower, top 30 at plus 125. Kramer Hickok, top 40, plus 115. Peter Malnati, top 40, plus 120. Brian Gay, top 40 at plus 165. So we had some seriously good bets come in there. The two bets we missed out on were Russell Knox, plus 120 for a top 40, and Brian Gay, plus 500 for a top 20. If he just finished inside the top 20 there, holy cow, would we have had a week? That would have been a 42-unit swing. We bet $7 on that bet, plus 500. He finished 37th. So close, but it's okay. We still managed to turn our $90 into $31, $32, which was always very nice to see. Adam Scott over Lucas Herbert as our only matchup of the day was also delightful to see. So, good stuff there. Good stuff. Let's dive into what we're expecting this week from our key stats on the golf course over at Sea Island. There's two golf courses, Plantation and Seaside. So bear that in mind when betting first round leaders. Bear that in mind when looking for Showdown. It makes it really interesting for Showdown because I think the Plantation course has a few more par fives. The average points scored over there are much better. So definitely playing Showdown, you want to roll out the Plantation guys, especially if it gets windy. There's a lot of trees over there. So as you can see, based off of the correlatory statistics, pretty much everything outside of putting sees a massive decrease in correlations over here. So it's pretty much a putting fest. It is a short golf course with a lot of green regulation increases there. So we'll see a lot of shots take place from 100 to 175. Above average in most of those ranges there, and then there's still a lot of shots coming from 175 to 200, slightly down in that department. But overall, we're going to see about 70% of shots come from 100 to 200 yards, which is about, just a little more over tour average. So bear that in mind when looking at your guys. And then from a scoring average perspective, we're going to have scores going about half a stroke lower than normal per round on average. And then we're going to see, you can see it's $6,800 yards versus tour average of 7,140. So there's a big decrease in yardage for sure. And the driving distance also decreased a little bit here with bigger fairways. So the driving accuracy increases as the distance in driving distance also decreases. So that kind of makes a lot of sense there because the guys are clubbing down to hit the fairway where they need to. Fairway width is slightly larger than normal, nothing out of the ordinary everywhere else. So just bearing that in mind, we are rolling some guys out. And first up, let's dive into the model, baby. Oh, we are fully embracing the outside of the, want to make it a bit more seeable. So some quick, whatchamacallit, we actually have ownership. So we're going to do some live editing on the show as always. You know, you can't be completely organized on the show every freaking time. Why would you want to do that, Byron? You know what I'm saying? Why would you want to be organized? Doesn't make any sense to be organized. So there we go. We are now rocking and rolling with some ownership. Boom, boom, boom. Even though some of the numbers aren't quite even making sense. So anyway, off we go. Let's dive into the week. Round one tee times, you don't really care too much about it this week. I don't think there's going to be that big of a deal because we've got got everyone playing at the same time on two different golf courses. So that's what you got to bear in mind there. That's going to be the fun part of the week. Let's dive into our model. We got some fun guys we want to talk about. We're going to talk about some color coding here. The green names are guys we want to talk about bets. The white names are just guys we're just going to talk about as we go down the board that don't necessarily have bets associated with them. And then as you can see here in column D, we've got the dollar per points, and then we got DFS points by golfer kind of throughout the board here. So lots of fun stuff going on. Corey Connors tops the model at number 1 in the field with upside ranking over there. So that's always good to see. Let's make sure we can see what our safety is looking like too. So Corey jumps from 4th to 1st in upside, which means he's been playing some really good golf recently compared to just his baseline ranking of 4th. So that's always good to see there. Then Vegas is giving us over at Bet365, friends, family, fans. We have a serious sighting of some value at plus 170. I'm actually going to quickly go and check and see what they are right now because that was a ridiculous numbers. Corey Connors plus 170 for a top 20 over at Bet365, which is very, very nice if you're asking me. And we're now on the DP World Tour. So let's take a look at RSM. Corey Connors is now minus 110. So yeah, when I put those tweets out, it did not seem right. And as you're going to see, a lot of these guys' numbers are actually incorrect. So we grabbed Corey Connors at plus 170. We grabbed Eric Cole at plus 190, and we grabbed JT Poston at a casual. Where is he? He's not even on the thing yet. JT Poston, not on the odds board. Interesting. Well, we grabbed him at plus 190, and all of those numbers are pretty much almost down to even money. Corey Connors is minus 110. So that is delightful to see that we have ourselves some value. So Corey Connors, he finishes inside the top 20 in this field adjusted 67% of the time, which is very, very nice to see over there. His course history is 5th best in the field. As you can see, he's had a 22nd finish in 2022, a 10th, and a 23rd. So he's finished inside the top 23 pretty much every time he's played in this golf tournament. And his recent form over the last 24 rounds is 6th in the field. So there's a lot of nice inside the top 20 boxes to be checked there from our man Scotty. I mean, Corey, because I've got my man Scotty Holdridge on the line here. Is Don Henley's kid playing? We will see. I think I've got him in the model somewhere sitting around a casual 8th or 7th. But Don Henley's kid is indeed playing this week, and his name is Russell. I think everyone wants to be Don Henley's kid, and Russell's probably the closest to it. So putting that out there, we have had Scott Holdridge mention on the show that Russell Henley is Don Henley's kid, and that was definitely fake news. So thank you for that, Scott Holdridge. As always, love you tuning into the show, my friend. So Corey Connors, plus 170. As you could see there on Bet365, that number's dropped all the way down to minus 110, which makes a lot more sense. So what is the minus 110 telling us if we change it to minus 110? It says the odds are 52% versus 37%, which they were initially telling us. So you got to bear that in mind, and those odds were delightful. So hopefully you jumped on those with me as we went along. So Eric Cole, same situation. God love Eric Cole. He's plus 190, and I think that jumped all the way down to Eric Cole plus 105. So that was It's basically a free unit since that line has changed. I don't know what they were doing with those numbers, but delightful to see. Eric Cole finishes T20 45% of the time or so. His last 24 rounds, he's fifth in the field in this department in recent form. He's doing it on approach. He's doing it around the greens. And the putter has actually kind of left him in the darkness a little bit. So we'll see what he can get up to at the putter. Hopefully that can bounce back. As we mentioned, the fairways are slightly bigger at this venue, so you can expect Cole to kind of get his business back in order off the tee. I know he's trying some crappy PXG driver that I know Patrick Reed probably used at some point. Shout out to Patrick Reed, our main guy. But Eric Cole, top 20 bet. The guy's finished fourth or better in 3 of his last 4 starts. God damn, that's some impressive golf. We've also got Eric Cole to win this golf tournament. So we're going to mention it all. Eric Cole plus 190 for a top 20. Grabbed that at bet 365. Now it's plus 105. So that was a big, big decrease. And then we want to talk about Eric Cole at 35-1. He's the first bet we're going to be speaking about from an outright perspective. And if you take a look at a fourth, a third, and a second, I mean, god damn, bro. Let's get it in the mix here. Eric Cole is going to be looking to win a tournament here soon. At 35-1 in this field, we're going to get the second best guy in the model coming up, and we're going to get 35-1 odds and plus 190 for someone that does it 45% of the time. That plus 190 is kind of telling us, okay, 34% of the time he's going to finish inside the top 20 when it's really 45. And then you take that plus 190 and you change it to plus 105 like the books actually have it, and then we don't even have an edge anymore. So that was a delightful find we found there on Bet365. Hopefully you followed that on Twitter. If not, use Odds Checker to find better odds out there. So Eric Cole, delightful stuff. You know, the great recent form, plays on easy golf courses, the 7th best out of everybody. The guy dominates out of the rough from 150 to 200. We're going to see a lot of shots come from that range this week. He's not necessarily the Bedge West, the best wedge player in the field, but he's pretty darn good from 150 to 200, and then the putting can just be lights out in general. So hopefully the Bermuda surface helps him out a little bit there. We've seen him make birdies like a freak over the last 24 rounds. He leads the field in that department. So a lot to like from Eric Cole. Boom chakalaka. Eric Cole, 35-1, plus 190 for a top 20. Boom, boom, boom. If one of these 3 guys basically cashes the top 20, we pretty much break even. If 2 of them cash, boy, oh boy, are we going to be cooking. So that's delightful. Nice to see. Going to be using the word delightful a lot tonight. So get on board the delightful train. Next up is the delightful man of JT Poston. He ranks 3rd in the model in both safety and upside. We got him at plus 190. He's not even out there on the Bet365 website. So I wonder if he's even playing anymore. Let's actually go take a quick peek here. Just make sure that we are, in fact, not betting on someone that's out. I don't see JT Poston being kicked out of the field yet. That would be very sad. I don't think he's still going to be playing, so that's good to see. We're going to play some JT Poston, plus 190 for a top 20. The bets aren't necessarily out there for him, but I think at FanDuel for a top 20 for JT Poston has got a plus 150. So not the worst in the world, but we got some really nice numbers there for JT when they first dropped on him. And we're going to talk about JT Poston for a 35-1 winner. There's a lot to like about JT. And we're going to talk about his recent form. 4th in the field in recent form. We had a 3rd place finish at the Shriners over there. We've seen JT also finish 21st and 14th at this venue in the past. So he's got some upside at this golf course. He's got some recent form on his side from the Shriners. We've seen how he can play on these kind of golf courses too. You know, he's pretty solid when it comes to like the John Deere Classic, which is one of the courses I had as a comp as well. The recent form's fantastic. The iron play is fantastic. The driver was being a bit of a problem. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal this week. One of the best easy golf course scorers on the field and 3rd in that department. So JT is just doing his thing. Love and life. We're going to bet him for a top 20 at plus 190. We're also going to bet him for a top winner at 35-1. Winner, chicken dinner. Plays fantastic golf on Bermuda grass. When it comes to putting, he's 7th in the field in that department compared to 35th in general. So we'll see what our JT can get up to. The recent birdies are great. 3rd in the field in that department. And then, you know, the the worst scoring average of his four is 26th. So that's like good to see that the guy can keep his foot on the gas pretty much all week long. Never fun to bet on guys like Aubert, who has second, first, 101, and then fifth. Like, what are we doing on these Saturdays, my brah? But once he sorts those out, then we're going to be in some serious problems. So Ludwig at 10-9, 28% ownership, looking very popular. There is other options. I'm obviously going to be much, much more into Corey Connors this week at $1,000 cheaper, a bit more, ownership friendly. Eric Cole on a golf course like this at almost $2,000 cheaper suits his game tremendously. And then JT Poston also. I'm going to just be playing those three over Aubert. So if the model's kicking him out, the recent form is not that different in any department either. So sign us up for those three boys over Aubert anyway. Cameron Young also. I mean, what is the Cameron Young? Both of these guys are so talented. Aubert, second, third, 13th, and 10th. Some fantastic golf. Cameron Young, 54th at the WWT. Yikes, my brother. So we're going to have to figure your stuff out there for us. First round stuff from Cameron Young, always scintillating. So if you're looking for some exposure to Cameron Young, first round leader, all first round showdown situations are definitely going to be where you want to lean in that department, because we know, we've actually seen how it fizzles out. Look at this, 58th, 57th in round 2 and round 3 this year. Just hasn't got it together as the weeks unfolded. So Cameron Young dealing with some head battles and kind of going from there. But we're not going to be talking about him or Ludwig that much. Brian Harmon at 10-3, pretty much anyone in the 10K range. The model wasn't as thrilled about as the other three we just mentioned, which is kind of exciting for a week where we're going to get different. Harmon enters the week of the last 24 rounds with the best recent form. We can expect him to play well at this golf course where he's played well at before, 14th in course history ranking over there. He's obviously been putting lights out with the rest of his game, pretty much all sitting inside the top 31, which is always good to see. As you'd notice there, he's pretty poor on distance, but the rest of his game makes up off the tee based off his accuracy and just incredible consistency. So he finished inside the top 20th on his shorter golf courses, less than 7,200 yards. So shine us up for Brian Harmon. He makes the least amount of bogeys in the field in general and recently, and he's been making a few more birdies lately over the last 24 rounds compared to his baseline. If he can survive round 2, which is about average in this field in scoring of 66th, the rest of them all sit inside the top 18. So Brian Harmon definitely looks like a guy you want to put in your player pool. I think out of the 10K guys, I'm going to be rolling with him. He's the cheapest of the bunch. He's also going to be one of the least owned of the 3 big 10K names. So sign me up for some Brian Harmon of the 3 big boys. I'll be getting different with a bit more balanced builds with starting in the 9K range over there for that department. Fun times talking about the BH, the US, the British Open winner, man. Can't believe that he did that shit, but off we go. So Russell Henley's next up. He's averaging 70 DFS points per game, per tournament, and he's loving life. As you know, old Russell Henley, he just waddles around with those Anchorus-sized 15s that he wears that we don't really even realize is that much bigger than his actual baseline body build. Russell Henley just walks around with those massive size skis. So just putting that out there, pay attention to that. But what they weren't paying attention to was when the Bet365 put out Russell Henley for a plus 130 top 20. And now it's plus 150 for a top 20. So if you have access to Bet365, I would 100% recommend going to Bet365 and betting a plus top 20 at plus 150 for Russell Henley. That's 20 extra points that we did not get. That's probably one of the better odds out there. I think they do pay ties in full at that book as well, which is ridiculous. So sign us up. We're going to him at plus 130. Guess who at a 72% clip finished inside the top 20 is Russell Henley. He absolutely dominates the top 20 market. 72% of the time he's finishing in that range in this field adjusted. You take a look at his recent form, there's nothing. So he hasn't played golf in some time. So hopefully he can figure it out early on. But when it comes to old Russell Henley, boy, oh boy, He's got a 22nd and a 30th at this golf course. So we like that department there too. And then, when the weekend comes up, he tends to ball out. I think he's one of the better guys on the weekend, second and first on Saturdays and Sundays. It's quite a nice little thing to look at there. So definitely going to be looking to eye out Russell Henley once the weekend rolls through. He tends to keep his foot on that heavy ass foot of his on the gas. So plus 130 for a top 20 for Russell Henley. Also couldn't quite get there on an outright side of things, but we kind of rolling in this range of 35 to 1 and up. So we'll see what goes on. And yeah, Scotty Holdridge is talking about our boy Russell Henley. Don Henley's son, by the way, walks around like an astronaut. Yeah, it's like all the gravity got sucked away from his body and got put in his shoes. That's almost like what it feels like when watching Russell Henley. It's like Max Homer's molasses cousin twice removed or something. Anyway, thanks for that sidetracking there, my bud. Russell Henley, plus 130 for a top 20. You can go grab a plus 150 out there right now, which is not too shabby if you ask me. The guy has the second highest T20 rate in the field. So, boom, go there. Then next up, we got Denny McCarthy. He's also another top 20 candidate for us because Denny McCarthy's odds were ridiculous. Plus 220 out there at Bet 365 for Denny McCarthy, and now they're plus 130. So they dropped those odds by, if all of these bets hit, we saved at least 3 or 4 units just by closing line value, which is awesome to talk about. No one really appreciates that stuff quite like someone using your own money, but basically getting an extra 100 points on Denny when those odds came out. So we have him at plus 220 for a top 20, and now he's only plus 130. So sign us up for Denny, who does a top 20 in bigger, better field at roughly a 71% clip. His course history here is 4th best in the field. He has one of the worst recent form totals of the bunch at the top of the board yet with 11th, but that's okay. He's going to a golf course that he's finished at 46th, 10th, and 8th in 4 of his last 5 starts. So he's definitely got some propensity to perform over here in Sea Island, Georgia, with the Sea Island Mafia squad. So hopefully he can keep that 71% T20 rate rocking and rolling on a golf course he's had great success at in the past, and cash a top 20 for us at plus 220. So we've got 5 top 20 bets already at some really high numbers. A few of them would not have made it if the odds were lower. So we're going to kind of hope for the best, and hopefully these chalky guys can get through at some really nice numbers for us. Like we said, we need just every one of 3 bets at pretty much 2-to-1 odds needs to cash in order to break even. If 2 cash, then we're looking pretty. That's at least like a 2 or 3 unit swing easily right there. So beautiful stuff on the value there. Hopefully we can cash in on those. Adam Svensson, we're going to talk about here shortly. We're actually betting against him in a matchup, which we will get to shortly. Steven Yeager, as always, the top 20 market looks delightful for Steven Yeager, but he just doesn't quite get it together when it comes to finishing. The top 10 rate for Steven Yeager, 4% again. He just doesn't quite get it all the way to the finish line. 45th, 25th, 45th. He's just not nearly as popular as everyone was hoping. And now he's $8,800 after being very, very chalky at the WWT. So maybe we're going to bet some Steven Yeager in the DFS side of things, especially when we get like a reduced ownership amount and a reduced price at $8,800. The guy balls out. 72 points of DFS per start is the second highest, I believe, out of everyone, behind Ludwig. Nicholas Lindheim. Oh, yeah, of course. So he's got his 3 starts of 1 million different points. But, yeah, behind Ludwig, you're not going to be getting too much else from everyone else. So bear that in mind. We got some serious point scorage and very, very affordable per point if you're looking at his salary to buy DFS points at $123 a point. So he makes a lot of points for what he's being priced at. So Steven Yeager seems like someone I'm going to be kind of bouncing back on the reverse side of things there, especially after fading him when he was a little chalkier last time out. Harris English, look at this course history. He's got some incredible course history as a course mafia man himself. 6th in 2021, 29th in 2023. So he's played some solid golf at this golf course before. we'll see what he can do. I think it's going to be an interesting week for his return to form. I don't know really what I'm talking about. He putts really well on Bermuda. I think he's going to start trending into being a bit more positive. Ownership there at 11%, $7,800. I think he's one of the more value-based players on the board, considering he's the first guy we're talking about in the 7K range, with a few more 8s still to come up. But before we get to any more 8s, let's talk about a $7,200 golfer that's named by the name of Sam Ryder. Sam Ryder is plus 400 to finish inside the top 20. He does that about 28% of the time. So we'll take that odds. The odds of plus 400 imply that it's only 20% of the time he finished inside the top 40. So there's a slight edge there. The model likes him at 12th in the model. So we're going to go to Sam Ryder. The course history is not ideal, but if you take a look at his recent form, especially on approach, by God, has it been nice. He's never made the cut here at this venue before, but he has in the last 6 starts finished 14th, 28th, and 10th. So we've got some serious upside there when he does play well. The approach play has been pretty solid for Sam recently, 4th in the field in that department. And the problem with his game is off the tee. 98th off the tee, not the very best in that department either, because he lacks distance and accuracy. But what we know about Sam is we've got a slightly bigger fairways, less difficulty hitting them at this venue compared to most other courses. So hopefully Sam can keep his ball in play a bit better than normal and then absolutely go from there. If you take a look at his dollar per DFS point, he's only $122 per point. There are not a lot more cheaper DFS value guys. Let's take a quick look here. Nicholas Lindheim, Peter Quest, Jonas Blinks, Kevin Yu, Ryan Gerard. These are all like very cheap, affordable guys that you're going to be getting to before you get to Sam Ryder. So those are some affordable individuals that you want to be looking at. Tano Goya, one of our crowd favorites all the time. Dylan Wu, Nate Lashley. Those are guys we like to talk about. Brandon Wu, Aaron Badley. All dudes we like to talk about on this podcast are some solid DFS per point, per dollar options for you over there. So that's what's cooking with Sam Ryder at 4-1 for a top 20. And then I think he's 110-1 to actually win this freaking tournament is Sam Ryder. So we're definitely going to be playing Sam Ryder in DFS. We're going to be playing him in the top 20 market and hoping for the very best in the outright market from Ryder at 110-1. Like we mentioned there, he's got some decent recent form, some spike finishes of flirting with the top 20 every now and then, a 14th and a 10th. We've got 2 of those at 110-1. I'll take it. In the full swing, those are very decent results, especially with the iron play being as scintillating as it has been. If we can see a bit of a bounce back in that department, 14th on easiest golf courses, that's always good to see. Well, hopefully that approach play can dominate. Where he likes to play the best golf from is from 150 to 200. He does great things in that department, out of the rough and in general from the fairways. So sign us up for Sam Ryder. I think he's got a great opportunity to play great golf this week. And at 4-1 for a top 20, that's one of my favorite bets of the week. So sign us up for Sammy Boy, and off we go. Jason Hadley fits in at 13th in the model, and I changed the top 20 to the top 40 here because if you take a look at Jason Hadley's top 20 rate, it's kind of 17%, not quite ideal. But if you take a look at his top 40 rate, it's 40% of the time he does so. The books are saying that he's implied to do that 49% of the time right now at plus 105. So we almost got to Chesson. I think you probably needed plus 110 in order to get to him there in that market. That's, we kind of splitting hairs, but, we kind of adhered to the model as best we can. And I like Chesson. I think he's 119th or 117th on the FedEx Cup. He's always played well in the final event before the season shuts down. I think he's going to look to play well again after a decent showing the last few times out. He's got a 7th and a 7th in his last 2 starts. Missed the cut in his last 2 starts at this venue. So we've got some good recent form, some bad course history, although in 2021, 2020, got a 23rd and a 50th. So love to see that from Chesson. Definitely want to roll him out in the first round market there and see what he can get up to. But I think in DFS, especially as well, $7,900, someone I'm definitely looking to get my grubby mitts on. Next up is Brendan Todd. The Todd father, he is going to be on our betting card at 55-1, Brendan freaking Todd. And we're also going to be betting him for a top 40 at plus 105. Brendan Todd finishes inside the top 40 60% of the time in this field. The odds of 105 are telling us it's roughly 49% implied probability that's going to happen. We know that he does that a little bit more than normal. He also ranks 14th in the model. So there's a lot to like from Brendan Todd. If you take a look at his recent form of the last 24 rounds, he's 9th in the field. So that's 31 places better than where he has to finish this week, which is always good to see. We love what his accuracy can do. We love what he's capable of at this venue. Outside the last 2 years where he missed the cut, he's at a 37th, a 4th, and a 54th. So those are 3 nice finishes. 2 of them would have cashed the top 40 bet there. And in his 2 starts in the fall swing, he's at a 6th and a 20th. So definitely would be cashing top 20 bets himself in the first 2 starts of the fall for Brendan Todd. So we really like the safety of we've got 5 or 6 top 20 bets already. So might as well resort to a top 40 bet at plus 105 for the Todd father and hope for that lemon to come out juicy as hell. He's also, I know me and Spencer Aguiar have him for our outrights, so it's kind of a rotoballer favorite. Hopefully Brendan Todd can get across the line there. He's got 2 top 20s in his first 2 starts this year. Hopefully he can get it to the finish line for us. Chris Kirk popped up in the model. It said bet him at minus 105 for a top 40, which he does at 68% of the time. The problem with Chris Kirk, he's only played once in the fall swing, and when he has played, he missed the cut last week. So no bueno over there for Chris Kirk, man. But just know that he was an option. So we'll see if we beat the model there by Maniac override or not, and then go from there. Mark Hubbard was also another guy that suggested to go and play a plus 137 for a top 40, which he does at 38% rate. So his adjusted top 40 rate is actually lower than what the odds implied, even though he's ranking 21st in the model, suggests we bet him there. If we take a look at what Hubbard's been up to, T17, 16, 6th, miscut, 31st, miscut, 20th. So he's starting to get a bit miscutty on us. His 2 appearances at this venue were 100th and 53rd. So I'm not, for top 40 bet, I'm not going to be taking a flyer on someone. I like to know that my guys are looking after my money in the top 40 market. You want safe bets, for especially at even money odds, So that's something not like a Sam Ryder plus 400 bet. It's more, you're looking for Brendan Todd to be someone that typically does it more often than not. So he's definitely someone we want to look at. Another guy we've had our money on in the past is Keith Mitchell in the top 40 market, 68% of the time. So he definitely came in clutch for us, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago when he finished top 40. Keith Mitchell can get it done. So we don't going to go to Chris Kirk, especially after he's been struggling a little bit recently. So we'll see what he can get up to and then go from there, resort back to his recent performances. Yeah. Billy Horschel is next up in the model, 16th in the model. Interesting situation for the big Billy Ho. He's someone that's been playing a little bit around, the European tour. We've seen him play like pretty decently recently. So take a 7th last 24 rounds of golf. I think Billy Horschel at $8,400 is an absolute yes to the DFS side of things. I think that's a great value there. Your DFS points aren't necessarily going to be reflecting of how he has played recently. If you take a look at what he's got up to, not played much golf this year, but there's not a lot to like from his baseline whatsoever. If you just take a look at his birdie rates, it's terrible. And his bogey avoidance rates was even worse. So once he gets through the weekend, Billy Horschel can play some good golf, but it hasn't been happening at all. So hopefully he can keep it rolling and go from there. So good luck, Billy Ho. We're going to be on you at $8,400. Justin Suh is starting to get rid of this issue where he can't make it into the top 10, top 20 after making the cut. Take a quick peek at this recent form. So a 30th and a 56th to start off the fall swing, and then a 10th at the Zozo and a 4th at the Waste, the WWT Championship. So Justin Suh did not play at the Bermuda, and now he gets to tee it up at another golf course that, man, I like Justin Suh in DFS. I like what he's starting to do lately. He's really expensive for $9,200, but if you take a look at his recent form, very, very recently, we've got 2 sensational results. So, if you just take a look at the last 8, you're gonna be seeing some serious Justin Sir in the mix, even though he's still actually 19th over the last 24 rounds. So sign us up for Justin Sir. Very accurate off the tee. You're not going to find that his distance is holding him back all that much. Pretty solid the further away from the hole you get from the fairways. Pretty solid from the 150 200 marker. Much better putter on Bermuda than normal. Roughly, goes from 11th to 6th in that department. So love to see that from Justin Sir. Lots to like. The putting and the birdie rates has been much better. As you can see, the Thursday, Friday golf, great. First and third in strokes gained, and then 83rd and 133rd over the weekend is no dice for Justin Sir. So hopefully he can get it together. Even if not, just buy him maybe in Showdown. I think that's always not a terrible option. Grab him, play him in round 2 for Showdown in Rainmakers, play him in Showdown for round 1 and round 2 in DFS, and then you can sell his ass or just not play him over the weekend. Let everyone chase the Justin Sir, who tends to go backwards over the weekend, but he has shown the propensity to play better golf over the last little while. So we'll see what he can get up to. I like him at $9,200 at 10% owned. Definitely in the mood for Justin Sir. Keith Mitchell hasn't really been doing all that much. He kind of shows up and then he doesn't. So played well here in the past. He's had 4 consecutive top 44s and then 2 top 40s over the last 2 starts. So if you're looking for bland vanilla, Keith Mitchell's your guy. Safe as can be, presumably 0 upside coming from the Keith Mitchell side of things. So not going to be playing Keith Mitchell. What did we have here in no. I'm not in on Keith Mitchell. Alex Smalley, on the other hand, has also been doing some interesting things on the comp course side of things. He played well here, finished 5th here at this golf course last year, a 16th and a 30th in the 2 other starts he's had, in the 3 of them to start the fall swing. So Alex Smalley's doing some delightful stuff. We love the comp course factor. We love that he's played well here in the past. We love that the recent form is okay. So we'll be playing some Alex Smalley at $8,000 for sure. Absolutely love him, especially on the comp course side of things. Let's take a quick peek here and see what on earth the comp course liked about Smalley. Alex Smalley, 2nd over here, 4th behind Kevin Yu and Akshay. So he's played nicely, yes, at Sea Island in 2022. TPC Southwind, not so hot. Love the Port Royal golf courses for old Alex Smalley, and then TPC Deer Run almost won that last year or this season. So Alex Smalley at a golf courses that I fancy to be similar to Seaside. I think he's played well out in the past, so that's always nice to see. So we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on Alex Smalley at $8,000 at 5% ownership. That's nice to see too. So let's go there. Brandon Hu, history, not too shabby. It's actually, and then the recent form hasn't quite been where we expected from Brandon Hu. So we're going to be out on him at $7,200, even though the model's got him all the way in the 20s. Almost bet him for a top 40 at plus 137, but quite missed out there. I don't know if I would have gone there, especially the fact that we've been not quite inside the top 40s anytime this fall, apart from at the Bermuda last week. So might be fighting Brandon Wu going in the right direction. If he hurts me this week, so be it. I'm not necessarily over the moon about Brandon Wu anymore. As we mentioned, Mark Hubbard, not quite up in the mood for Mark Hubbard's inconsistencies. Take a look at his miscut or a solidish top 30 type finish. Nothing sensational there outside of the Sanderson Farms, where he usually plays really good golf. Sam Stevens also is an interesting cat. The comp course situation, not the best for Sam Stevens. Moving on, not in the mood for Sam. Matt Kuchar, $8,900. Okay, Matt. He was almost the reason we never cashed our EVR ticket. So thank you for sucking, and thank you for us never being on you, even though we've always enjoyed playing your old ass, Matt Kuchar, at $8,900. My saying is, you play Matt Kuchar at Matt Kuchar courses, and I don't think this hasn't ever really treated him sensationally. We saw him play at the 40net where he finished 7th. We saw him play at the WWT where he finished 2nd. So maybe it's time to play Matt Kuchar at a golf course that theoretically should suit his game. The shorter kind of accuracy dependency off the tee suits Matt Kuchar's game a little bit more, and he's rested. I think he's only going to be playing his third game of the fall swing, and we know what Matt Kuchar can get up to. So ideally, you would want a course that's a par 72, I think, with a bit more par 5 scoring, but I think Kuchar can get it done at a course like this at $8,900. We're seeing some sensational form from the Kuch, especially well rested. You kind of tend to see his game slip away as that goes along. So let's scoot on down the board to the 25th ranked golfer in our model, and someone we really want to always focus on his upside. He's kind of sporadic when it comes to results. He's 30th in the last 24 rounds in recent form, but his approach play has been very delightful. Adam Schenk. His 2 starts so far this year have been a 51st and a 100th, so I missed the cut at the Shriners. No dice there. Had a very blotchy kind of course history at this venue. But if you just take a look at what Adam Schenk has been up to even before all of this stuff, I mean, he's been incredible. He's really been one of these boom or bust kind of golfers. So we've got a T9 at the Tour Championship, a T6 at the FedEx St. Jude, a T4 at the John Deere Classic, a 7th at the Rocket Mortgage, Memorial, T7, Charles Schwab Challenge, 2nd. So Valspar Championship, 2nd. He's got these top end finishes that he just can't quite get across the line on. And hopefully, at a course like this, he can kind of figure it out and go. The field's not nearly as strong, although the full swing hasn't quite treated him that well. Maybe he can bounce back this week. We like Adam Schenk. We also got him for a freaking ridiculous price. I mean, the guy's not even that expensive. I think he's 60 to 1 or something like that. It's not even Adam Schenk, 66 to 1. Like, why? What are we doing? Obviously going to bet Adam Schenk at 66 to 1 and then see what he gets up to. I think at 66 to 1, you're going to have a guy that's been so close to the top of the leaderboard every like third time he's playing golf. Why not? At some point he's going to stumble across the top of the board then and win it all. So he's there. And then we're going to talk about Taylor Pendrith, who the model never quite kicked out as a value play. The recent form isn't like incredible or anything. It's an absolute FOMO play in my part. So all of Twitter was all over him. And maybe, the last 12 rounds are much better than the last 24 for him, because he's got an 8th, a 15th, and a 3rd after some poor miscuts prior to that. So he's also 15th and 26th at this golf course the last 2 times they've played. So recent form and course history moving in the right direction. If you take a look at what Taylor Pendrith does off the tee, he is not very accurate off the tee, but on courses shorter than 7,200 yards, he's still 14th in strokes gained off the tee on those kind of golf courses. So love to see him get up to some serious benefits on that side of things. And then comp courses. He plays well, the 7th best course history at these kind of golf courses. So love what we're seeing from Taylor Pendrith. It makes sense why the Twitter community is all over him. What we can see on the putting side of things, putting is volatile. 103rd in the field on Bermuda putting is not ideal. We also want to see him not be 84th in the field in general putting anyway. But over the last 24 rounds, 29th in the field in birdie or better rates, which is better than the 100th that we're seeing on his baseline. So he's definitely moving in the right direction. Let's see what he can get up to. Obviously he's got those round 4 problems. 125th in the field in round 4 scoring after not really being much worse than 43rd in any of his other rounds. So some great recent form, some great course history, some promising course fit narratives here. So Taylor Pendrith at 60 to 1 is on our card, baby. Let's freaking go. So love what we're getting from him. Love what we can see at $7,600 in DFS as well. So a lot to like from Taylor Pendrith. And that concludes our betting section of everything here outside of the matchup. So we're going to go and find our one and only, I think we've got 1 or 2 matchups that I try to kick out. Was a Corey Connors versus Adam Svensson. Let's actually also pull up the summary here and just do these 2. I mean, it's our number 1 guy in the model versus somebody else, which is not necessarily what you want to see. But hey, Adam Svenny, So he's 10th. That's interesting. 9th in the model and 1st in the model, and it's still telling us to bet him. So Corey Connors definitely loves the model, loves him. He's got recent better form. He's got as good a course history here. I think Svensson won this tournament. Corey's been better. The comp course history, not nearly as good, but the recent form is great. Corey Connors on an easy golf course is great. The driving ability on the shorter golf courses is better than Svensson. Svensson's actually a better long iron player. From 150 to 200, he's really good, and that's what you kind of see on these courses that have a predominant range coming from 150 to 200. Svensson does really well on those putts, does well on those approach shots, whereas Corey's pretty solid across the board in general. We'll see what he can get up to in that department, but he's playing good golf right now. Corey plays okay on Bermuda, not nearly as good a putter as Svensson is on Bermuda, but I just think Corey Connors' game is moving in the right direction. I like what Connors can get up to over the weekend. If you take a look at Svensson's situation, 82nd and 72nd in recent in round 3 and round 4 strokes gained. That's not ideal. And you take a look at his weekend performances, 45th and 41st. It's been an interesting year for him, but Corey Connors, I love. I took a look at what he got up to after being time off for a while. He plays fantastic golf after being off for a little bit too. So love what you're going to get from Corey Connors at I think it's minus 145, which is going to tell us not to bet it anymore, but we're still going to bet it at Caesars. I think it changed on us from minus 130. I looked earlier. So we're going to bet this bet still at minus 145. Love what Corey Connors gets up to. We had Adam Svensson take down Lucas Herbert last week at minus 140. So hopefully Corey Connors can do that for us against Svensson as well. So that's what's cooking over there. Let's take a quick peek at a few more guys. Let's go for dollar by DFS point. I like to do this and just see some good value and some guys that aren't. Like Alex Noren, so far hasn't been the best dollar, but he's playing some great golf right now. So that's going to be a fun little look. Billy Horschel's recent form, not so good. But we can take a look and see if the model kicks out any guys that might be a better option. Like Brian Harmon hasn't necessarily, he's really expensive, but I mean, he's playing such good golf right now. He's got the best recent form. He's definitely going to be in the player pool. Troy Merritt's been a little disappointing recently. We were hoping for a bit more from him. Hasn't quite shown up yet. Lanto Griffin's also someone that I've had my eye on recently that hasn't quite come to the party, but he's a very good putter. As you can see on the last 24 rounds, he's 4th in the field in that department. So let's see what he can get up to. The ball striking's been great, so we can see what he can get up to. Hopefully Lanto wants to party this week. Don't mind him at all. As one of the guys that the model suggesting is a little more expensive on his side of dollar per DFS point. Luke List is interesting to me. He's got great course history at this venue apparently. So yeah, he's had a 4th, a 10th, and 53rd along with 2 missed cuts, and he's also recently had a win, an 18th and a 20th. So Luke List is, he's not messing around, and I don't mind playing Luke List at $8,300, especially with the fact that we're gonna just, I think his putting has just completely transformed. Over the last 24 rounds, he's freaking 16th in the field in putting. So I think at a course like this, he's had great course history at. Luke List is going to be in the player pool at $8,300. Definitely going to be rolling him out. Kelly Craft as well at $6,700, 1% ownership. Kind of a little boggles my mind a bit because I think he's going to be quite popular, especially after a pretty solid start to the fall swing that's kind of gone a little salty on the back end. But I think, being back in the USA, we can expect him to play some better golf again on courses that kind of might suit his game, with accuracy being one of his key traits. So let's see what he can get up to. What's the Bermuda splits look like for him? Gets a little worse on Bermuda, but hopefully he can keep it rolling for us at $6,700. Cameron Young, kind of spendy at 10.6, for someone that's only 5th in the model, for Cameron Young. Hasn't been in the mix. Those the Friday, Saturday rounds just haven't been there. He's got one of the better round 1 performances. So definitely going to be a round one showdown guy. I think that's the way to go. Potentially a top 5 after first round candidate, but he's just not proving to be inspiring at all right now. JT Poston starting to get into the department here where $9,300 price tag is expensive, but it's still kind of middle of the range from a price per DFS point. But JT's obviously been balling out. The stuff he's been up to it's been great. He's played well before 21st and 14th, and then he's got a third at the Shriners. So love what JT's been up to. Love how his game moves in this direction. $9,300, and if he's going to be 10% owned, oh boy, we're going to be playing a lot of him for shizzles. I definitely can see that happening there. Alex Smalley, like we mentioned, we're going to definitely be playing him a bit, even though his recent form, we could be asking for a bit better, but it hasn't quite been the worst either. Let's see what he can get up to. Brendan Todd and Corey Connors, we've mentioned them two already. Definitely going to be playing both of them despite their chalkiness. I just like them both at that price. Definitely going to be playing Chesson Hadley. I think he's going to be inspired by the need to perform and get inside that 125 spots for the Corn Ferry, to avoid having to qualify for the PGA Tour again. So we'll be seeing him do some good stuff. I wanted to see Zach Johnson's name and throw up after the Ryder Cup. It's not too soon to see him back in the mix, but he's been an interesting character that's always been. Zach Johnson actually played some good golf. If you take a look at what his comp course history and the course history has been like, he's pretty solid. He's played great golf at this venue in the past, and his comp course history, even recently. Let's take a quick peek here. I think he's got a pretty good course history at all these other venues, even in 2022 and recently. So played pretty solid here last year. What else has he been up to that we like? Played nicely at John Deere Classic again, made the cut there, obviously, and then played okay at TPC Craig Ranch. So we'll see what he can get up to. I think he's an interesting character, especially after the little stigma of all the Ryder Cup stuff. So ZJ at $6,900, low owned. I can see him just coming out and just playing with a chip on his shoulder and playing good golf, even though we haven't seen him really string it together over the weekends much lately. Obeg, we mentioned, the amount of points he scores is ridiculous, but he's starting to get to the point where, it's still affordable, but it's going to make the rest of your roster very important to figure out. So if I were to play one of the boys at the top, obviously Ludwig is just incredible, but, as always, like we've mentioned, we've got that round 3 situation. I think you play Ludwig in round 1, round 2, where he's got elite strokes gained numbers, and then you just let him do his thing in round 3. I don't know why he kind of shits the bed every time he does that, but I know, it's boo Zach Johnson. I know, bro. I know. Like we're gonna play him though, because we'll get some ownership leverage, and I think it'll be good for us. So sign us up for him. We don't mind some Ludwig Aubert. Peter Malnati, also, if you take a look at what he's been up to, he's had some decent finishes at this venue in the past at $6,600 in a field like this, $6,600 golfer. He's not too bad. He putts nicely on Bermuda grass, does his thing over there. And then we want to keep taking a peek down the board here and kind of figuring out if there's any guys we really want to roll out. I know Harry Higgs is a fun story. I just don't think his game is anywhere right now. Love Denny McCarthy. Cody Gribble. So we want to have the recent form finishes in here as well, because let's get some safety involved. So Cody Gribble, for $6,200 golfer, is a 62% safety plus top 20 rating. So let's find out for the safety here. There we go. And find Cody Gribble's situation, because he's really, really impressive. Why does it keep doing this to me? Hide. There we go. Okay. So Cody Gribble, if you take a look at what he does, 57% of the time he makes the cut. He's $6,200. His recent form is 130th in the field. It is what it is. But he's made 2 cuts in 4 starts this year. So 45th and 43rd in those two starts. So Cody Gribble, definitely someone we want to put in our player pool at $6,200. I think he's one of the sneaky value plays you can get away with this week. Ryan Palmer's been playing some good golf, friends. And when you get out to these kind of parts of the world, look at this, a 5th and an 8th. I don't know what's going on in this guy's life, but he's definitely worth monitoring. And I think I'll definitely be putting him in as a first-round leader candidate. The Sunday scaries are definitely there for Ryan Palmer. Round 1, 50th. Round 2, 44th. Round 3, 7th. Round 4, 121st in strokes gained. So, just the round 4 stuff been a problem. Evidently, the last 2 times he's played, not so much. So good for him. Ryan Palmer, definitely let's make him pink here to remember we're going to bet him for first round leader. I think that's a great number to get after Mr. Palmer, especially if we're going to get 2 different golf courses. So you can have 2 first round leader sweats. All the way down here, Taylor Montgomery. I like Taylor Montgomery on courses where you have to hit a lot more wedges than longer irons. If you take a look at his golfer profile here, the strokes gained on wedges from 100 to 150 is 14th and 12th. He's like a really good iron player from that range. And then strokes gained from 150 to 200, it's pretty shitty. So at least we're going to get a few more wedges from him this week. About half of the 100 to 200 yard range is going to be from that proximity, where then he can putt like a beast. Like he's sensational on Bermuda. He's sensational on all surfaces, makes tons of birdies, does his thing. Also got the problems in round 4 where he can't quite finish it off. But definitely like Taylor Montgomery. I think people are starting to get the picture there. I think a first-round leader bet for him will also be right on the card. So sign us up for Taylor Montgomery, but at 15% ownership at $7,600. I don't know about that. Justin Lower finished inside the top 30 for us. That was a great finish he had there, and he's had now 2 solid finishes inside the top 23. He's starting to get into a bit of a form. So at $6,900, I think Justin Lowe is definitely a name you have to put in your player pool. I think that's a very solid option here down the bottom of the board. Chad Ramey, I think, is out of the field now. Ben Griffin has been all over the place, even though he models out really nicely from a comp course perspective. I think the Bermuda situation is where he's played well at in the past. He seems to be making a bit of a bounce back after his close call at the Sanderson. So definitely going to be playing Ben Griffin. I think I like his name this week. Where's Brian? Let's take a look. I don't even know what his situation has been. I think Shot thinks liking him as an option. Wesley Bryan, all the way down here at $6,200, $6,300. Not the best, he's made a few cuts here and there. He made solid play at Bermuda. $6,300, sure. I don't mind him, Shot. Whatever you want to do. But I just like guys that have got a bit of a better proven track record down here in the bottom of the barrel, whereas, like Tano Goya and our guys who just talk about there. So we'll see what he can get up to. But I like Wesley. It's a fun story. I think him and George both made the cut last weekend. So that was exciting. Good stuff for them. As we mentioned, Brendan Todd as always, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Palmer, Ben Griffin. Trevor Cohn, $6,100. Another one of these guys. Makes a decent amount of cuts, but he's been letting us down a bit lately. 1/3 of the time for a $6,100 golfer, in 20 starts, he's managed to make the cut. So, unfortunately, 4 of the last 5, he's missed the cut, but he made the cut here last year. So maybe we go back to him again at $6,100. I think we'll definitely be doing that. I think that price is very fair, and hopefully we can get a bounce back week from him at a venue that he's played well at in the past. Carson Young, interesting character too. Solid off the tee. I don't know what his situation has been like the last little while. He's like hit or miss lately, and I feel like that for $6,900 is not a bad price to pay for someone that can finish inside the top 20 every other start. So sign us up for his upside ranks, not even quite reflecting his safety ranks. So he's all over the place right now. Augusto Nunez played solid stuff. Tano Goya. Dude, Tano Goya in round 1 is incredible. Look at his round 1 scoring. It's 10th in the field. 10th in the field. And then in round 3, it's one of the worst in the field. So Tano Goya is definitely going to be like a top 5, top 10 play for me for a first round leader situation, and definitely in showdown if you're going to be playing Tano Goya. Oh boy, he can get himself going. I mentioned this earlier, shot like for Denny, I don't know. I feel like 45-1 for someone that's as good as he is in a field like this with course history like he has, disrespectful number. For someone like Corey Connors, I went and took a look at his recent form after being laid off for a bit. T6s, T10s, guy comes out and balls. I think the Valero, the Valspar or the Valero, he won after being off for a little while. So Corey Connors is totally fine starting up right where he left off. And, I think he suits this golf course quite nicely from a ball striking perspective. So absolutely love Connors, more so than Denny. But I think Denny's price tag is getting it was a little disrespectful at 45-1. So that's my view on that. Tano Goya, $6,400. Love what this guy's been up to, especially in round 1. Holy shit, he's been playing some great golf. So if you're looking for a cheapie round 1 showdown player, Tano Goya is definitely going to be in the mix there. He's been sensational for us lately. So that's been fun to watch. Andrew Novak's found his groove again. He's back in the $6,600 range. 1% owned, making a lot of cuts at 62% cut making rates. Love that, So he's a nice $6,600 cheapie that we'll be looking to play for sure. Satoshi Kodaira is doing some better stuff again. Love what you're seeing from him. And then Dylan Wu. Dylan Wu is really, really so solid. 43% of his starts are top 40s. That's a very impressive rate for someone that is $7,000 in a field like this. I mean, if you take a look at a top 40 rate, in this field, Dylan Wu is not that far from the top. I mean, we're going to have to go a hot minute, but it is what it is. He's 29th in a field for top 40 rates. So $7,000, 29th in the field. He's 32nd in the model, 19th from a safety rating. So he's very consistent, does his thing. Love what Dylan Wu can get up to, and he's cheap. He's cheap again, and it's delightful to see that number. I don't know why I've used the word delightful so much this week, but it is what it is, and it's been delightful to use it. So sign us up for him. Nate Lashley's been playing some great golf. Peter Quest is all over the place. He's still a great points getter for you. So definitely going to be looking at a lot of these guys at the bottom here. Ryan Gerard, $6,300 for him. He's been doing some interesting stuff too. The recent form, okay, it is what it is, but he can get going. Made the cut, I think, last week at the Bermuda, so that's some good momentum for him at $6,300. Kevin Yu, as always going to be in our player pool, even though he's all over the place when it comes to playing good golf. We got a 30th from him at the Bermuda last week. That's good to see. So good for us. We're going to go to these guys, play the other dudes in the betting markets. Let's have ourselves an awesome week. Thank you for tuning in again. Really appreciate your support. We will be back for like a recap episode of the season later in the fall, like in the winter, in December, sometimes maybe around Christmas for a little Christmas episode. But till then, folks, thanks for tuning in. As always, love to have you guys on the show, in the chat. Scotty, Shot Like, appreciate you guys for always popping in. I really appreciate your support. Let's freaking go, man. Let's have ourselves a week. Let's have a great rest of our Tuesday and make the rest of our week count. Let's go and change something important in our life that we've been putting off a little bit. Let's go win some money on the golf side of things. And let's kind of avoid the majority of the 10K range in DFS this week and end the week with our nuts on the table, proving the DFS world why we do what we do. So till then, folks, love y'all. Love everybody else. Love your ones that love you. And we'll catch you guys later this year.